can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
Right, this is part 2, Don, and now I just wanted to mention about Ivan, the prodigal son hasn't quite returned. Do you know when you say the prodigal son, that's not a term of endearment necessarily? Did you know that? A prodigal son was someone who squandered his old man's inheritance, and his father or his next of kin forgave him when he came back into the fold. So it's not really a term. You know, they say, oh, the prodigal son has returned. People think that's a term of sort of endearment, but it's not. Anyhow, the prodigal son, we use that term in its common usage. Ivan, who is over in Perth, in the mining industry, he's coming back, and he rang in to ask me who was our guest, and I told
he controls it from where is
Don, speak into the
where is
mate,
he?
Please.
The bloody thing is in front of my face.
It's not. It's under your chin.
Oh God!
It's
a fault of yours,
Don. If that.
Anyway, tell me about Ivan.
If that falls off,
listen,
Don,
tell me about Ivan.
I will seriously.
Come on, hurry up.
You haven't got it screwed into the table properly.
People don't want to listen to you.
Speak into the fucking microphone. You're off microphone.
Can I read you? Tell me about Ivan.
Ivan is coming back, and he rang me up to ask who our guest was, and I said, oh, all right, I'll tell you, Ivan. So why are you going to just get some questions for him? It turns out to be a him. And he said, no, I just wanted to know. I said, where are you? He said, I'm in Perth. I said, what the fuck are you ringing me up for to ask who the guest is then?
Is he mining in Perth? Is he mining in Perth?
That's right, he's a miner.
He's mining in Perth. He's not at Kalgoorlie or wherever. Where is he?
You've got to come and just sit and look at the screen one day. Sometimes you shout into it, sometimes you're off microphone. You're just a nightmare, you are.
Can I read you something and get a comment?
So that's Ivan.
Okay.
Ivan will be back next week, I think. Did we clear up why Dr. Nicole's not on here?
Yes, we have.
She got the crap that shits with you?
Yeah, come on, we've already covered that. Can I read you a story and ask your opinion? Because I've been watching YouTube and I came across a fellow called Roy Keane. He's an Irish, born in Ireland.
What's his name?
Roy Keane. Captained Manchester United, a very good player under Alex Ferguson. They said that he was the extension of Alex Ferguson on the ground. In other words, Alex Ferguson controlled the team off the ground, but Roy Keane was...
He delegated his authority.
Well, you look at both men and they were a mirror image of one another. Now, taking all this into account and you being a captain of your particular team, can I read you out something that was in the Sun with regard to James Sicily, who the star... And I'll read.
Who is James Sicily?
Just let me read.
Okay.
Star Hawk James Sicily says rookie coach Sam Mitchell has dramatically evolved since his playing days and now preaches love and connection. Love and connection at Waverley Park.
Diversity and inclusion.
Just let me finish.
All right.
Sicily spent his first 3 seasons as Mitchell's teammate. So he is qualified to comment on how the champion Hawk has changed since entering the coach's box. Mitchell was famous for his suffer no fool style and was never afraid to ruffle feathers if he felt it necessary, but Hawthorn insiders noticed changes in him towards the end of his playing career. Now, what do you think of that? Because having been out on the ground when you were captain of Geelong, you spared nobody. So do you think there's a love and connection thing in AFL football nowadays? And would it have existed in your day?
Do you know the only two topics you've brought up today are horse racing, because you're at
Mortlake.
Mortlake.
No, show jumping.
Show jumping. And the Hawthorn Football Club. They're the only two topics you know anything about. You've contributed.
Comment, would you?
Yeah. About
love and connection in football at Hawthorn.
Yes, at Hawthorn.
Well, it's the only term I take an interest in.
I know. I've just said that. It's the only two topics you ever bring up is Hawthorn and show jumping. So love and connection, I think you've got to have people perform for you, not in spite of you. So therefore they have to respect you and not admire you necessarily, but respect you. You cannot be in charge of a team, whether it be football or anything, if you don't have people who work for you and not in spite of you.
But what do you think also that Mitchell was famous as a player for his suffer no fool style and was never afraid to ruffle feathers?
He maybe got that off you, Don.
Maybe he got it off you. Because you weren't afraid to ruffle feathers on the ground.
I didn't play I had nothing to do with Mitchell.
Remember you were the most abusive captain that I had come across in my days on the football field.
Maybe Mitchell
towards his teammates.
Maybe Mitchell has pinpointed you when you were at Hawthorn, because that's how you controlled the side and played in successful premiership sides, Don, that you captained.
So your approach was...
My approach was do your job and let everyone let everyone else worry about theirs.
But if somebody wasn't there for one of your rare hit-outs, they would be abused.
If we had predetermined a tactic, and I'd done my part, and they weren't there because they had just gone.
All hell would be let go on the middle of the football field.
Yes, that'd be right. Or if I hit the ball to the wrong spot, and
there was never that.
If I'd hit the ball to the wrong spot, and they say, "Hey, you told me to stand here. Why don't you hit it to me?" So it's a quid pro quo thing.
It's
Don.
a what?
A quid pro quo. It's
quid is
a quid pro quo. It's a bit of
21
each.
shillings, isn't it?
I tell you what, you're about 99 cents in the dollar. You're autistic.
A quid. Don't you remember a quid?
Yeah, I know it. Do you know what a quid is? Also, it's a snatch of tobacco. A quid is a piece of tobacco you chew. There's another thing I've taught you, like vowels and vows.
Do you remember some of the old currency?
Piquancy.
Do you remember some of the old currency? Halfpenny?
Yeah, halfpenny.
Half a penny?
I know, halfpenny, yeah. Farthing.
What was a crown?
Farthing.
A crown.
Was it 2 shilling, 21 shillings?
Was it, or was it 25 shillings?
I don't know, Don. Half a crown. What's that got to do with anything? Now, so...
It all goes around quid.
Tell me this. Now, and this is a serious question, and I got into an argument with someone over this because they became emotive. They let emotion transport their thoughts. So, Putin... Russia has invaded the Ukraine.
Has he really? When did he do that?
I'm not sure if you're serious or not. I've got a feeling you probably didn't realise that, but I'll take that on that's tongue-in-cheek comment because you know nothing about the world. But Russia has invaded Ukraine, and the West have clamped down on all the Russian oligarchs. You nearly punched that microphone off its stand then. Pull it in front of your face because I'm going to ask you for a response. Oh, fuck me. So the West have decided that they will cancel and put restrictions and embargoes on anyone that does business with Russia, or anyone who lives in Russia, or anyone who owns property in Russia, or anyone who owns property if you're a Russian around the world. So here's my question. Do you think it's right that Roman Abramovich owns the Chelsea Football Club, right? And they have embargoed Chelsea, the Western world, because he owns it and he's a Russian oligarch and probably a friend of Putin's. They have penalised Chelsea from a whole lot of different aspects of running that club, to the detriment of the poor Chelsea fans who has nothing to do with Russia or Abramovich, and they have penalised them because it's owned by Roman Abramovich. Do you think that's reasonable or fair?
Is it a state of war, Russia and Ukraine?
Yes.
Well, there's an old saying, isn't there? All's fair in love and war.
No,
Sorry, Johnny, all's fair in love and war.
So I'm going to ask you this question again.
No, I heard your question and I've replied. All's fair in love and war.
So
I would be tightening this. They haven't really tightened the financial sanctions on Russia yet. I'd be really.
So you think it's fair if you're a long-suffering Chelsea supporter and you're a member of that club, and through no fault of yours that Roman Abramovich owns it, that you are now your soccer club that you probably live and die for and go along and have a membership ticket and sponsors and everything. You think that because you think it's fair that the supporter who lives in the suburbs of London, wherever Chelsea is situated, you think that you should be penalised and can't go to games and can't have fixtures and can't play in certain competitions because you happen to be a supporter or a member of that club that's owned by a Russian oligarch?
Yes.
Well, that's extraordinary. I just, I'm trying to give you an analogy. Just say Hawthorn. It's the only...
No, this is war, John, this is war. And the Chelsea supporters were probably very thankful that he took over and bought the club and ran the club. They were looking for money, hence he's come in, he runs the club. Now, they didn't think
he doesn't run it, he owns it.
Well, he owns it, he runs the club, he owns it, runs it, whatever you like to say. And the Chelsea supporters, if they were concerned, they shouldn't have allowed him. They should have somebody else should have come in and done it, or the community or Chelsea supporters should have raised the money themselves if they're so concerned.
Don, they wouldn't have been concerned when he bought the club because this wasn't a factor. Russia hadn't invaded Ukraine. This wasn't a factor. They would have probably kissed his feet because they've saved the club and they've put it on a financial pedestal that hitherto wouldn't have been achievable. But so now, suddenly because Russia has disgracefully invaded Ukraine, that now those supporters are now actually been ostracised for no fault of their own. And it's all right to say they shouldn't have sold the club. What you can say that about anyone. You can say that about any club that's been bought by Elton John bought a football club. Well, what happens if he turned out to be? I'm not saying that. I'm just
Watford. He was with Watford.
Yes, I'm just hypothetically saying a personality buys a football club and then does something horrendous. Not Elton John hasn't. So don't please say. But suddenly does an egregious thing in the community and gets sent to prison because he's done something. So you think that they would take that off? They'd ostracise the supporters because of the owner doing something bad? Is that fair? Is that fair? Is that reasonable?
Well, something's not in a similar vein, but something involving supporters and officials is happening right here in Victoria. Did you realise that AFL Victoria are very, very sensitive to criticism? Now, they run football outside the AFL, and if an official or anybody speaks up, they will be sanctioned. But
like what? Give us an example.
Well, it was just reported earlier, a couple of days ago, that officials or people involved in these local community leagues in our Victorian regional areas or suburban areas, which are controlled, most of them are now controlled by AFL Victoria. The only one that I know of I think the Essendon League maybe standalone, and the Eastern District League out in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne stand by themselves, but they have taken over the league where I follow, Sorrento, and they have actually mucked it up down there. AFL Victoria.
So you're saying they're sensitive to criticism? Have the people?
If an official was to say you have fucked up our league, which they have done on the Mornington Peninsula, they would be held to account. I don't know what sanction would be imposed, but they're not allowed to voice their criticism. Now they are now running in down there. I don't know about other leagues, but an under-19 competition. Now, in a country, an under-19 competition can't exist because the boys have left and gone to Melbourne looking for work. You can retain, they've got no local knowledge whatsoever, AFL Victoria. And consequently, they're saying to teams, you've got to run a third competition, under-19s. You've still got the boys if it's under 18 because they're still at school. That's the local knowledge.
The original question you asked me, Don, was that do you think it's reasonable, you mightn't have put it in these words, but I'm paraphrasing, do you think it's reasonable or unreasonable that spokespeople for country leagues can criticise the people running it without sanction? That's what you're asking me, aren't you?
Yeah, well, the AFL is trying to sanction people
from having an opinion.
Having an opinion. It's interesting too, the two fellows that came down, the ex-AFL, Roger Hampson?
Don, if I have to ask you this again, mate, you are a foot away. I'm watching this. You are a foot away from that microphone. Turn it into your fucking mouth and speak into it. And
hey, come on, get back on the subject.
Fuck. We have a person. The Spread Eagle. It's a very, very prestigious pub in Richmond. They were inquiring as to whether we would like to...
Has it moved? Has it moved? I thought it was Middle Park.
That's the Red Eagle, isn't it? I think this is called the Spread Eagle. The Red Eagle. So I spoke to a very pleasant man down there. And I was chatting to him about maybe we'll take the...
Chatting. Where's the G? Chatting.
I was chatting to this man, very pleasant man, with a view to maybe us going down and doing the podcast from the saloon or the lounge area at the Spread Eagle, and people could come in and watch us do the podcast and listen, see if you were actually serious, or they could come in and see if actually you were as silly as I think you are, and be sort of entertained by us chatting, and maybe we could get the odd person up out of the audience who would come down at lunchtime to have a counter meal and engage. We could get their opinion on things, and there might be a bit of a hook for people to come in, and we would all benefit from it, not financially necessarily, but it's a little bit financially. And so I haven't had the conversation with him yet, but this would be predicated, Don, on the fact that you would like to actually perform in front of people, and be affable and pleasant to them and not rude like Mike Sheehan thinks you are, or The Rocket thought you were rude. I think Mike Sheehan said on SEN that he thought you were rude on the radio. It got back to you, didn't it? And someone said, and I said, I've said to Mike and the Rocket plenty of times, who gives us stuff if Don's rude? He's rude to me. What's it matter? Sort of man up a bit. And then Mike went on with it, and then he said he left the podcast because I don't know why he made something up. And then he said that,
you heard the interview.
No, you told me
I didn't.
You told me that someone told you they're listening. And I said, what's it matter? What does it matter? Who cares if Mike Sheehan thinks you're rude or not? I think you're rude, but I'm. But
there's
a
point I want to take up with you. I was a guest who stayed. Apparently,
what's that?
I was a guest who stayed. I wasn't part of the original team.
No, right? I had this. I said to Mike, I said, now who left? No. I said we will get Don in, and
but I asked you to do a podcast, so you've remember. Twisted things around.
No, I'm not doing it deliberately. I can't remember. I said I'll get Don in, and Mike said, "All right, get Don in." And after a while, he couldn't work out how you travelled or what you were on about, and he said, "Why have we got Don on?" And I said, Well, because I think he adds a dimension to it. He said he's rude and that, and I said I know he's rude. I said, and he doesn't like you, and you don't like him. And I said, who cares if he doesn't like you, and vice versa? That's interesting, isn't it? Rex Hunt doesn't like you, or doesn't like Mike, or doesn't like anyone. Well, who cares? What's the matter? And the Rocket didn't like you, but
as I said to him, join the queue, and it's a bloody long queue.
I know.
You won't get up to the front for a long time.
Well, I don't really like you, and here we are.
That's good.
Well, here we are.
I'm happy. I've got my horses and my television.
Oh yeah.
And talking about television, I happened to tune in on Monday night. I did a channel flick. There are 3 different reality shows.
Oh, how about the crap on television? Is this on what show? You got?
Well,
Foxtel?
you've got to help me, please. You've got to help me here.
Mm.
One was, I remember some of the names, but there were definitely 3
Give us some.
because I went to
Kardashians?
No.
Oh no.
SAS.
Yeah, that's Wayne Carey was on that, wasn't he?
Well, SAS it's called. It's like an army boot camp or something.
Right. Wayne Carey was on that.
Okay, well, I did a flick. The other one was called Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
And I think the third one, correct me, might be called Survivor.
Yeah.
Now, there's 3 on 3 different channels at the same time, prime time.
Yeah.
So I turned them off and went to Netflix.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that what our television has come to?
And then they had all that stuff like Big Brother.
Who?
Big Brother. Remember Big Brother? Where they just filmed people for 24 hours in a house.
Really?
Seriously, there is more crap.
Does it rate? Obviously, it must rate. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Don, I was getting some notes I'd written down.
Tell us what you're doing. You just turn your back and walk.
I was getting some... What? Do I have to be sitting in front of the microphone for you actually be able to speak? I had found some things that I wrote down last week, which I never got to mention, about the crap on television. And keep talking. I'm just going to see if I can find the notes up here now. Go on, speak.
Well, I'm waiting for you with a chain of thought was television. And I'm talking about Netflix. I wrote some of those films are not all that.
I actually can't find it. I wrote down some of the things that I subscribe to Foxtel, and I love some of the Fox. There is more shit on Foxtel. Seriously, I'm going to see if I can find it. Keep talking.
What? Keep padding. Just come off the top of your head. Tell us what's worrying you.
I wrote them down. Some of the shows that I thought extraordinary. Who would watch this crap? My 600-pound life. That's about obese. Two sisters who weigh 3/4 of a ton. Big.
Well, hang on.
Little people, big world. It's about dwarfs.
What?
It's about dwarfs. It's just shock television. My 600-pound life. Who would be interested in watching people who weigh 3/4 of a ton go about their life?
There was a lady in America who I think she might have been that big. They had to cut out the side of
that's
the
right.
flat
That's basically what this is about. And they go on about their love life and their relationships. Who would have a relationship with a 600-pound person? Hang on, I've found some. Go on, keep going. Extreme. Oh yeah, this is good. I found it. Extreme Sisters.
What?
Extreme Sisters.
Tell me.
Well, it's about huge people.
Oh, this is the 600-pounders.
My 600-pound life. 600 pounds these people weigh. And they put it on television. It's just an excuse to show freak television. Here we go. Alaskan Animal Rescue. What? How many people would watch Alaskan Animal Rescue? What rescuing what? That's a television show. Cooking shows. How many cooking shows can you have? Every silly prick in town has got a cooking show. Men, women, kids, they're cooking up shit. People watch it as if you're sitting watching it. So I'll write that down. I'll replay that now. Put 1/2 pound of sugar in there, and then we add some flour. Hang on, I missed that. I'll rewind. Who would watch that? Cooking shows. What? How can you find all that riveting
You've got
stuff?
Foxtel, I haven't. This is news
Bob's
to me.
Burgers.
Who?
Bob's Burgers. That's a show on television. Bob's Burgers.
What's that, a burger shop or something?
I presume Bob
How
makes
did
burgers.
Did you watch all these?
This is on the index, when you go on the shows that are available.
So you haven't watched them, so you really don't know what the content is.
Well, I haven't watched the cooking shows. I haven't watched Extreme
They
Sisters.
might be very good.
Bob's
You might
Burgers.
learn something.
Well, how to make a burger.
Or you might learn something from the 600-pound sisters.
Here we go. Righteous Gemstones. Righteous Gemstones. I suppose, I'm not sure if that's an advertorial for gemstones or people mining gemstones. They just drill out and blast out holes in the ground and see if they can find gemstones. Would you find that interesting? Maybe you do. Parks and reservations. Parks and reservations. That's around Melbourne or the world. Parks and reservations.
Well, that'd be a documentary.
No, it's not a documentary. There's shows that are on
Entertainment, light entertainment.
loosely described as entertainment. There is more crap on the, and seriously. And you've just mentioned that's free to air. I don't watch free to air television, but
there was one I saw the other day. Or again, I was flicking. It's called Australian First Dates. They go out on they're lined up. They don't know one another. That's cringeworthy, and I really feel for them when they come back. Would you go on a second date with this person? Now, obviously, one's attracted and the other's not.
Yeah,
it's cringeworthy, and I feel for the person who'd like the date but is not asked to go out on it.
Yeah, that's like catfish.
Catfish.
Yeah, people pretend that they're something they're not. They pretend they're models, men and women. I think it's usually women who say...
Is there a show called Catfish?
Catfish, it is. It's called
Really?
Catfish.
And so what do these people do?
Well, you have big porkers who pretend that they're bloody Elle Macpherson, and the bloke thinks, shit, I'd like to go out with her, and then they meet them, and they turn out to be completely different to who they thought they were. No, but it's called Catfish, and half the surprise is the bloke saying, oh, shit, you're not quite who I thought you were. And they say, oh, well, here I am, and what do you think of me?
Hang on.
Fucking
so
awful.
They put in a photograph that's not them, in other words.
It's called Catfish. Now, Don, so I'm glad you got onto that. I meant to bring that up last week. Now,
on a serious note...
No, I'm gone serious.
I'm very serious, because did you realise, and I don't know if it's the state or federal government, bringing in 5 days sick leave for casual workers. Did you hear this?
No.
Isn't this unbloody
Is this the
believable?
state government? Is this the state government?
Well, I don't know. I said it could be federal. I don't think it'd be federal. I think it'll have to be state.
It'll be either the state or the federal government, or both trying to buy votes because they're desperate to get elected.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yes.
I think it'd be a vote-catching thing.
That's all it's
done.
done.
But what about the businesses that employ these casuals?
That's right. No, they don't give a stuff on. They just want to stay in power.
The casuals already get more money than what the permanents do, yet they're going to give them 5 days.
They just want to stay in power, and they don't give a stuff about the electorate. It's just about a power grab, and if they think they can buy votes, they will. Now, Don, listen to me. What is the disgrace? We tend to overlook the fact that dogs are allowed to go into supermarkets and restaurants now because, and we think that graffiti has gone so bad, so prevalent that we can't do anything about it, and people just litter. What about this as a disgrace? The Westgate Tunnel project is years overdue.
And money, it's over.
Billions.
Yes.
Billions of dollars over budget. And you drive down the Westgate Freeway on the Geelong, to go down to Geelong out to the west.
I did it on the weekend.
There is more infrastructure just standing there. There's the supports for the bridges and the over the road bridges.
Very confusing.
Nothing is ever... This is the greatest... And people just put up with it now. We drive down that road...
What else can you do but put up with it?
Well, you've got to get rid of the people.
I'd hate to be coming back there, what was it, a long weekend, Monday night. Monday night from down down wherever the beaches are, the resorts,
ever a
on
government
coming over that bridge.
if besides the iCook food scandal, the red shirt scandal, the complete corruption of this government about the COVID testing, quarantine people that they put in charge.
Shirts,
I said the red shirts, if ever a government should be swept out of office, it's the Westgate Tunnel project, which is gone on for years. There's no end in sight. It is an absolute disgrace, and who ends up putting up with it?
What about the ring railway they're pushing, starting down Brighton Way, winding up through Box Hill and doing a loop around the outer suburban area?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. To even be thinking about it.
Don. Now, we've got to push on because we've got our very special guest coming in.
Who is it?
We'll introduce him when he comes in.
Why do you always want to surprise me?
What?
Why won't you tell me who the guest is?
Because you said to me before we started the podcast, you said, what do you think about, and then you stopped and you said, no, I'm going to ask you on air, I'm not giving you, have you done that yet? Have you sprung that surprise on?
I haven't caught you with your pants down.
Right, so Don, so the Westgate Tunnel, did you see the AFL that they've got now? This is where we're headed. This is not about meritocracy. This is about the quota system. And just let me finish this before you think I've gone off on if you think I've gone off on a politically incorrect tangent, I haven't. But it said there are 5 women presidents of the AFL clubs, and it says, and then some spokesman said, but there's more to be done, meaning, I presume we've got to get more women presidents. I don't know what that means. But why would you have to say there's more to be done? There's 5 women AFL presidents. I don't give a stuff if every president of the AFL is a woman. Or why do you have to say there's more to be done? Surely it's about the meritocracy. You get to be president of a football club or anything, but let's say football because that was what the quote was. Why do you have to say there's more to be done? If the right person for the job is a woman, next the AFL will be dabbling into all this social. They'll say we need a non-binary president, we need a transgender president.
Do all of that.
They'll be jumping right onto the bandwagon of what they think is woke. What do you have to have? There is more to be done about having women presidents. Let's have, if everyone's so concerned about it, how about the boss, how about Gil McLachlan resigns and gives the job to a woman? Where does that start?
I watched the races on Channel 7 on Saturday afternoon. There was one male commentator, Bruce McAvaney. His co-commentators were all women.
Yes, and I think it has not.
I think there were 4 of them.
I shouldn't. I'm not. I should have checked this. But has Jason Dunstall been? Someone told me this, so I'll take it back if it's incorrect. Has Jason Dunstall been superseded out of his job as hosting some show he does? I don't know. In place of a woman or a female? No, I shouldn't. I think someone told me that's the case, but maybe that's not. So I shouldn't have even.
The other thing that's interesting, talking about the racing side, and I take a bit of an interest in it, is that a lot of apprentices are now women. I think it's about 80%, and the racing industry may be not moving with the times because it's differentiating between male and female because our society is getting bigger, taller, heavier, and whatever else. And consequently, the men in a lot of cases cannot get down to the weights that are required. So it is opening the opportunity for women to ride at these light weights, 52, 40.
But that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
But then you get jockeys that are heavyweights and they're men, but there are not too many heavyweights.
Okay, but Don, sounds like this is biased. This is not biased against females or women. This is based on the merit. If the whole world is run by, and the whole jockeys and the whole AFL and the whole everything is run by women, that's fantastic. Let's not say more has to be done. Let's just say, could we get the job on our merits? Whatever gender you are, or whatever gender you, even if you're one of the alphabet genders, who cares? But stop saying that there's more to be done. There's not more to be done. When there's a position becomes available, people apply, and if you're a woman, good, and if you're a man, good, and that's what you get the job based on.
Did Daisy Pearce get the job at your old club?
What do you mean, the job?
She was. I think there was talk about her becoming a coach at Geelong.
At the men's AFL side?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. Now, Don, so what about this? There's a very good quote about someone has ridden, I'm going to get the quote up has ridden a 97-foot wave at Nazaré, which is off Portugal.
You're joking.
I'm just going to
Have you seen footage of Nazaré?
Yes, of course I have.
It is scary.
That's what this.
It is.
And if I can, I hope I can.
How big did you say the wave was?
97 feet.
Oh,
now here it is.
Did he get? He'd have to get towed into that, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. Catching a very, very big wave during Brazilian charger Vini Bos Santos went straight to the Dr. Douglas names and oceanographer specialising in measuring giant waves, and he said, waves are now not measured in feet, they're measured in degrees of fear, which means catching a 90. Yeah. So apparently this man is he has caught a 97-foot wave at Nazaré, which is off Portugal.
I know, I've watched it on YouTube.
So that is having some go now. Do you talk about having your testicles hanging off the bottom of your belly, Don, whether they're strapped up or not?
Can you tell me if you watched a complete film of Nazaré, because all I've watched is those parts where they're on the wave. What happens? Does the wave just dissipate and go into the beach, or does it crash up on rocks, or do they go into a cliff? How do the guys actually get off the wave if they've ridden it?
Well, I only know this because they explain why they're so big. So they come in from a shallow base, and then there's a huge deep trough under the ocean where the water swells up, and when the tide comes in and the waves roll in, the water lifts it up because it comes up from this trough, and it lifts it up to extraordinary height. It's not very wide, the wave, and it doesn't go for very long, but it is huge.
And where does it finish? On the beach or in rocks, or what? It
finishes on rocks, and that's
really? How do they pull out of that, the surface?
Well, they hope they ride the wave off its... They ride the wave either by going left or right.
Oh, I see.
And if they stuff it up and it crashes on them, 97 feet
can I ask you
of water coming down, they are in serious trouble.
2 more questions. What size board are they using?
I think longer boards.
Well, what, 12'6", 13'6"?
I don't know, not 12'6". I think they're longer boards to ride the wave.
And the second thing is, do they have straps or whatever else on the board, like a, what do you call those things, a windsurfers?
The ankle strap? Oh, no.
You know, you slip your feet in?
I don't think so. They may do, Don. I haven't, they're good questions, but they get towed onto the wave, and it is... Seriously, it's other than the MotoGP people who ride the MotoGPs in the.
How would you be if you're the bloke pulling in and the motor fails on your jet ski?
Well, I don't think that's ever happened, but they get sometimes they trying to rescue them before the next wave crashes on top of the person. Some of the jet skis get bowled over by the wave because their first priority is to correct. Is to pick up the, plenty of times the waves have crashed on top of the jet ski, and there's been a few deaths and all that. Yes, there's been a few deaths with it all. So that was that.
Does it run all year or just certain times of the year?
Certain times when, and they have storm spotters.
Travel the world.
Cyclone spotters that track cyclones and hurricanes, and so that when they get near Nazaré or Portugal, or they just
big wave
descend on the big wave riders descend on this place because they realise it's going to be huge surf.
They're big wave riders.
And there's a very good documentary called 100-Foot Wave on Foxtel.
Is that about the bar boys from Sydney?
No, one of the very good shows on Foxtel as opposed to all that other crap I mentioned. So there we are, Don.
Where are the biggest waves? Is that the biggest wave in the world?
In the world, Nazaré off Portugal. And it's only over a very small area where the wave rises up, and it's not a bombora. That is not out in the ocean. It's right on the cliff, and if you stuff it up, they throw you onto the rocks. Now, Don, so there we are. So that was... yes, I'm going to wind it up, Don. We're going to have a man come in here and speak to us about one of the three commodities that are the most traded in the world: gold, gold, coffee, and oil. And we'll ask him how he got into gold mining or gold company when he was an ex-AFL footballer and a very good footballer. You would have played against him.
Right.
And he's a very sharp,
You're
bon
teasing.
vivant. He
You're
looks like
teasing.
Chesty Bond. He's just
Really?
a
protruding jaw?
Oh yes, a big flamboyant torso. He's a magnificent athlete.
The navy blue.
He was
what do you call those? Wife cheater or wind bashers?
Wife beaters.
Wife beaters. Does he wear a wife beater?
No, he doesn't wear a wife beater. He doesn't wear a wife beater, Don. But he's a very, very sharp-looking man. I think his son actually plays football for one of the clubs. I think he does. But we're going
narrowing it.
Well, we're going to ask him, and you would have played against him, I think.
Oh, really?
When he was at one of his clubs, he's played for two clubs,
really?
and he's won 2 Brownlow medals. Really? So that should have narrowed it down a bit. And he's we can ask him. What did you think of Don when you played against him? And we can ask you, Don, what did you think of him as a player? And see if he can be complimentary and not knock him or bag him or speak down to him.
Question.
And he's coming in, and it'll be very interesting to see how you get into gold mining and the gold indices. Indices, I think they're called. Do you know what the price of gold is at the minute, an ounce? I'm asking this a serious question. I'm not sure myself. What would you think?
I'd say $300.
$300. Would you?
I don't know.
I would. I could be. I would say it'd be $1,200.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know. We'll ask him. Might be more. An ounce. It's not very heavy, is it? An ounce. An ingot. I used to speak to someone who used to call it ignots. He said, I've got a gold ignot at home. And I said, an ignot? What's an ignot? He said, it's a big bar of gold. I said, you mean an ingot? So it just shows you, people have no idea what they're talking about. You would have probably called it an ignot because you're an ignoramus. Righto, Dodd. So we're winding it up now, and we're going to prepare ourselves for our guest. And have you got questions for him?
Hit the fucking button.